I am not the Messiah, but simply one that was sent, that I had been sent before this one. And notice he changes the context. He begins talking about what? He begins talking about the bride, the groom, the wedding. Why? Well, we know, if we look at the scripture, when the kingdom begins, the first thing that the kingdom is going to reveal to us is a celebration. And it's not by accident that this celebration is a great wedding banquet. Why? Because biblically speaking, there is an inherent relationship between a wedding and joy. And that's exactly what we're going to see in John's discussion. Look again. He says in verse 29, the bridegroom is the one that has the bride. So the context is this. The people, and we're speaking about Israel, who are responding to Yeshua and his disciples coming to their immersion. He's saying this group is the bride. And who's the bridegroom? The groom is Messiah. So it's only right for this to happen. And what is John's role in this? And what is his response to all of this? Well, notice what he says. He says, but, verse 29, but the friend of the bridegroom. So the groom's close friend, he is put in that position. Why? Because he's trustworthy. Because of this relationship, they have a friendship, and that word is one of the words for love. So the friend, that is the loved one of the groom, he is going to be what? He is going to be with the groom, it says. Verse 29, for the friend of the groom, he stands and he listens to him. Listening for what? The groom to say, let's get married. Let's bring about the conclusion of what we've been working towards, this wedding. And when that happens, notice it says that the friend has what? He has great joy on count of the voice of the groom. He rejoices. He's not feeling left out. He's not feeling jealous. No, he wants that. Why? Because he loves his friend and he wants what's right. He wants the fulfillment. And that's what John's saying. He delights in the fact he's not jealous. He's not insecure. He is delighting in the fact that God's stated purpose, why John received that call, was to prepare the way, and now his work is coming to an end. His task is being completed. So he has great joy, and he says, therefore this joy of mine is complete. And he says, that one must increase, and I must what? Decrease. And that message is true for all of us. See, here's the problem. Today, in many people's understanding of the gospel, is that I'll receive the gospel so that I'm not going to be punished. And when I die, I'll go into heaven. And now I have a relationship with God. For what purpose? So that God can help me. And when I want His help, when I need His help, when things aren't going the way I want them, I can turn to God and He'll make my will a reality for me. No, that is what I call Christian idolatry. That's not the purpose. The purpose is that we must become less. That is, all of my dreams must shrink. All of my desires must evaporate. I must become less. That's what he says. And He must become more. Messiah, for every believer, he needs to become more of who we are. And we start understanding more and more of His purposes and His plans so that they can become our purposes and our plans, and His reality becomes the truth of our life, the passion of our very existence. Well, look on to verse 31. He says, the one from above, speaking of Messiah, the one who comes, He is above what? The one from above, He is above all things. And we read, but the one of the land, He is of the land. So what he's making here is a dichotomy. He is showing two realities. You can either be of this world, or you're going to be of the heavens. And let me put it another way. You are either to be of a kingdom-driven purpose, or you're going to be of a earthly purpose, that's going to end in destruction. So he says, the one being of the earth is of the earth, and he speaks concerning the earth. But the one from the heavens, it says, this one who's coming is above all. And what he sees and what he hears, this he testifies. And he's speaking about Messiah here. That Messiah is from the heavens, and he's only testifying, he's only speaking of that which he has seen and heard from the heavens. And therefore, what? Here's the problem. No one receives his testimony. That's the problem. But the ones who do receive his testimony, they are sealed by God for what? The true God. They are sealed by the true God, and the whole purpose is this. Why is it mentioning true God? Because this concept of truth. We're speaking here about the things of God, that they are going to be sealed when we submit to the testimony of truth. We're going to find God working in our life to acknowledge us and to put His power, His identity, that is, that we belong to Him. He's going to make that a reality in our life. So he says here, look on to verse 34. He says, for the one that God sent, what does he do? It says, the words of God he speaks. That's so important. Why? Because this word that's translated here, the words of God he speak, this phrase, the words, speaks about not the purposes of God, but rather the word, the power that brings about the purposes of God to a reality. So he says, this one who speaks the words of God, it says, God gives to him the Spirit. How? Without measure. And why do we come back to this term Spirit? Because Spirit is inherently related. Remember the book of Genesis. The Spirit began to move, hover above the waters for the purpose of what? Bringing order. So God is without measure for those things that are according to His purpose. Well, I'm out of time until we continue on and enter into chapter 4 next week.